So, of all the things for me to expect to cover where AIG is concerned, Answers in Genesis, for those who don't know, this is Ken Ham's thing. I didn't expect to talk about transgender issues, but it does make sense given that AIG is full of bigots that we would end up getting here. But this is an article from a Dr. Owen Strachan, who was featured in Answers magazine. He's apparently an associate professor of Christian theology at Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, which means that, yes, technically he is a doctor. I'm not going to take that title away from him because he has a doctorate, or at least I assume he has a doctorate. But I do think it's a little misleading to use that when talking about a medical thing or a societal thing like transgender issues. But the title here is called Transgender, Bringing Clarity to a Confused World. Now, this is going to read like a BGR article, I'm sure. So let's get right into it. The transgender movement has shattered the culture's understanding of God's design. How can Christians respond with biblical love and integrity? So, can I just go ahead and say that the mere fact that something shattered your understanding of something does not make it good or bad, but we'll see. You know what? It's fine. For those who are channel members, Derp Vader does not approve of anything in this article, I'm sure. I don't know if that's going to show up on stream. I don't think it can. Nope, it doesn't. Anyway. Strange stories are now commonplace in our daily headlines. You know them well. A child who was born has transitioned into a girl, or vice versa. Now the child is playing sports against girls and stacking up. Oh my fucking god! Is it always trans people in sports? Is that all these people can talk about? I hadn't sat down and read through the article before this. Maybe I should have. I didn't realize we'd be talking about fucking sports again. How? How does it always get here? And apparently they think people transition at birth. They don't fucking transition at birth. Who the fuck thinks that? AIG, why? I'm not talking about frickin' sports today. Christians read about these stories just the same as anyone else. But we are different. We are special, Trump said so. We are different from our non-Christian neighbors. We do not merely have a nagging, undefined sense of something right or wrong in these events. We know that such cultural developments are deeply wrong, deeply immoral, and deeply unfair. We know this because we love Scripture. We love God's design. We love the world God made and the men and women He created to display His glory. But we also know the full truth about this place. It is not as it should be. It is cursed because of original sin. As a result, humanity does not glorify or honor God as we should. In our rebellion, we take the design of God and try to remake it, rework it, even ruin it. Oh God, save me. The transes are ruining the Bible. Is that what we're going to do? That's the angle we're going for? Okay, let me go ahead and explain something about omniscience for just a fucking second. If God is all-knowing, the condition that we find ourselves in the world is necessarily what He intended. Because being all-knowing, He knows the end result of any of His actions. And if He did not intend for something to happen down the line, but He fully knew that it was guaranteed to happen due to the fact that He was omniscient, then He is a walking contradiction. But let's see what else is said in the article. Gender bending and cross-dressing are not new behaviors. Wait, gender bending? I have a question. Are we talking about this? Are we talking about this? Because I mean, boobies, but like, this what you're upset about? That? Really? Okay. But gender bending, he's upset about that. Okay, please go to fucking Tumblr and just complain about gender bending. Everybody will shit on you. It'll be funny. But he then says, I'm trying to press buttons. None of the buttons are working. Oh, well, it's fine. The buttons don't have to work. We can just continue on. They are ancient things, but what are believers to do when a society, not just random individuals, rebel against God and mandates that we accept and approve? Oh, God. Sorry, the AI, imagine that, the Answers in Genesis article putting me to sleep. But they rebel against God. They approve of boys trying to become girls and girls trying to become boys. How do Bible-loving, Christ-worshipping men and women respond to transgender rules that normalize such behavior? So I'm just going to go ahead and say right now that this reads to me as infantilizing trans people, because you're deliberately using language, unlike a live stream or a regular casual conversation, where you are able to say things and maybe your words get mixed up. In this situation, right, what I'm reading is that for trans people, there was a deliberate use of the word boy and girl, and then the Christians, they are the adults in the room because men and women necessarily get corresponded to them. That reads as maybe a little awkward, just a smidge. Let me suggest we briefly 3 ways we can engage our culture today. First, we can remember that transgender rules oppose scripture and common sense. All right, so I'm going to say right now, I don't give a fuck if something opposes your scripture. I don't. Your scripture is literally not the rule for the entire way the world works. You may think it is. You may be confused as to how the world functions, and you try to look at scripture and use that as a way to determine how the entire world is laid out. But that's not how things work. It is not the rules for the world. Secondly, more importantly, common sense doesn't dictate garbage. Common sense is merely the accumulated prejudices you have gained in your life up until the point where we refer to your common sense. So, for instance, if somebody grows up being beaten up by a particular race of people, their common sense would say that these people are violent and blah, 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 even though reality is that that's not the case. You just happen to have a bad upbringing and things sucked for you, and that is horrible, but that doesn't suddenly mean you get to demonize an entire group of people because of your common sense. The prejudices you've accumulated up to this point don't do or mean anything. But the article goes on to say, when people around us wonder out loud about the transgender phenomenon, we can point them to the divine design that appears in concrete language. I didn't know buildings talked. On this issue, unlike some other apologetic challenges, we don't only have to refer to them to detailed principle about unseen realities, as in the triune nature of God. Scripture plainly describes what nature obviously displays. There are men in the world, and there are women. We have male bodies, and we have female bodies. Have you perhaps considered, as a Christian, that God necessarily made trans men or trans women exactly as they ought to be? And not in the way that you think. Not in the way that you think that you get to say, oh, that means that a trans man is a woman. No, that's not what that means. If you're going to accept that God didn't make mistakes when he made people, then you have to accept, especially as an omniscient God who understands the end results of all of his actions, that he necessarily made people trans. This means that it would have been in God's design for somebody who was born male at birth, assigned male at birth, and then transitioned to female, a trans woman. This is part of, if you're going to accept God's design as a credo as you go forward, this is within the parameters of God's design. You have to accept that God made people trans. Otherwise, you have to give up some of God's agency. And I don't think evangelicals are willing to do that. But let's go to his second point.
Secondly, we can take action when we see wisdom violated and truth overturned. It is not right for a young man with a boy's body to enter a girl's restroom.
Okay, but just so you know, okay, if that person identifies as a girl, they are not a guy. And statistically, they are more likely, because I'm sure your issue is really going to be about like sexual assault. That's going to be the scapegoat you use. If sexual assault were your real problem, when a trans person goes into the bathroom that does not correspond to them in reality, not the way you think, not a trans woman has to go to a male bathroom because you're concerned about their dangly parts. No, if a trans person goes into the wrong bathroom, the likelihood of them being sexually assaulted, not them sexually assaulting other people, increases drastically. Because if, let's say, you are a trans woman, you have a body that this person would say is male, but you look more female. You are more femme-presenting. You sound more female. You sound however you've needed in order to deal with your dysphoria if you have dysphoria. You go into the bathroom by however they planned on forcing you into the bathroom, right? Because that's already a bit weird. You go into there. You are now the female in a bathroom of boys. The likelihood of something bad happening to you is now infinitely increased. Not the other way around. Moreover, I think it's been said 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. If somebody was going to sexually assault someone in a bathroom, they're not going to use the fact that they were trans as a scapegoat. They're already breaking rules of consent by going into a bathroom to sexually assault someone. It doesn't matter what gender they are. They're going to break that rule regardless. That's gonna happen. An arbitrary rule about bathrooms is not gonna suddenly protect people from sexual assault, unless you think that rules, people don't do things merely because they're illegal. If that was the case, nobody would do illegal things. But that's not what we see demonstrated in reality. But the article continues,
it is not right for a man with a young boy's body to enter a girl's room. And it's not fair for a girl who takes hormones to compete against boys in sports.
Wait. Do you really think the hormones affect you that positively? I'm confused. Wait. It's not fair for a girl who takes hormones to compete against boys in sports. So you're talking about a trans guy, because this is you're labeling them a girl. So they take hormones. They'd be taking testosterone. Merely because they're taking testosterone, it's not fair. Does this person think that all medication that trans people have to take for their bodies to function and correspond the way they need, does this guy really think that all trans medication turns people into fucking superhumans? Oh, yep, that's right. I got it. Hold on, guys. I got to go into my superhero uniform now, apparently. Because apparently, if I were to take medication for trans people, I would turn into a fucking superhero by this logic. So you know what? Rule 63 Neko Suris is here. I am ready to go fight evil because obviously the medication has just made me all powerful. I have taken the magical trans hormones. I am now going to destroy everyone with facts, logic, and my new body. Like, it baffles the mind. It baffles the mind. What is their third reason? Because apparently it's just going to be fucking sports. Again, it is always this. Always. They never care about sports. It's never about sports. It's about controlling people. It's like abortion. It's never about the life of the child. It's about controlling the body of the woman because these people are narcissists. They need desperately to control people in the societies that they're in because if they don't have that control, they feel like they're losing all control and it drives them mad.
Our third thing. The church has the call of speaking the gospel sanity in a terribly confused culture.
Ah, yes. You have all the sanity. Only you. You person who is obsessed with sports you don't participate in and don't care about until you are afflicting the minds and lives of others, especially those who are minorities. You don't care about these sports until then. But don't worry, you're the arbiter of sanity. It's you. You're the one who's sane. Of course! Dr. Owen Strachan, you're the sane one here. I believe you 100%.
Our culture approaches matters, but it is secondary to our theological witness. Embracing transgenderism, treating it like a fucking ideology, whether individually or societally, is first and foremost an offense to our Creator, God. I think I already pointed out that God necessarily made people trans, if that was the case, but, go off, Queen. Men and women of any age who flirt with such temptations, who listen to the serpent's whisper, are in mortal danger.
All right, you know what, guys? Can we get 2 things in chat? 1, trans rights. 2, the serpent's whisper. Because if Callan's not in here, this is the perfect time for Callan to be in here. But I do not think Callan is in here right now, and it makes me sad. Honestly. We need our resident snake in here for this particular conversation. Oh my God.
They listen to the serpent's whisper. They're in mortal danger. They face hell for their sin.
Ha, yes. Advocating all trans people go burn in hell. How very loving of you.
We must tell them the truth about their rebellion against the holy and righteous God. We must tell them about the cross and the resurrection of Christ.
And I have to point out that if your God is so weak that trans people rebelling against them is going to destroy them, is going to be an affront to your God. If you feel like you have to be the buffer between the trans person and your deity, then I'm going to go ahead and say right now, it makes sense that you think that trans hormones are going to give people fucking superpowers. Apparently, with enough HRT, you can commit deicide. It's wonderful. The fantasy world these people live in would make for excellent fiction. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Ranma 1/2, right? Every time Ranma gets splashed with warm water, he gets to turn into a boy. Every time Ranma gets splashed with cold water, he turns into a girl. Now, can you imagine a world where somebody just splashed this person with water 1,000 times just to increase the amount of trans energy so that he could then go fucking kill God? That's the world that I'm seeing pictured in the fantasy universe of Dr. Owen Strachan of AIG. Callan, you're here! Are you here to tell us about the serpent's whisper that's going to tell people to be trans and kill God? Is that what we're here for? Because honestly, I need that energy right now. Apparently, we're incredibly worried about the superpowers that trans people gain through HRT. So much so that we have to protect God from the transes. That's AIG. That's them, not me. I'm done. I'm done. Owen Strachan, you were an entertaining read, and not for the reasons you think. Dear Lord. Thank you all for watching. If you have not already, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the bell notification icon. Please go ahead and head into the description of the video to see links to my social media, Patreon, and also affiliate links if you want to go to ddlgplayground.com. You can use coupon code /Suris to get 10% off of anything else you want there. I am apparently going to go kill God. That is apparently what I'm going to have to go do now.